Hi, Kenny here, and I want to just do a quick video on how I just adjust the shifters on my Royal Enfield Bullet 350. Okay, and I want to kind of show this and in a little bit of a detail here, just because a lot of the stuff that sometimes are seen online are from India, and the translation is not necessarily clear. So for anybody who owns specifically a Royal Enfield 350 and want to know how to change the shifters, this is kind of a how-to or how I do it. So essentially, we've got our shifter here, and depending on where you might want to shift, where your shift points are, you might want to set this a little bit higher or a little bit lower. I just want to show you guys an example on where my boot sits here. And right now, if I were to, you can't really quite tell, but it's quite level. If you look across the bike, my shifter is quite level with the peg here. And I kind of prefer it that way with boots like this. It's a little bit of a slim boot, and I can easily get under. The issue with some of these bigger boots, and I'm going to use this as an example, is that you might want to raise your foot peg a little higher to make room and make sure it's easy to get your toe underneath the bike. A couple of things I found about the Royal Enfield Bullet, especially the way the seat is designed, is that a lot of times, sometimes I will be riding, and like 20-30 minutes in, I might want to shift my feet a little further back, my seat, my butt, my bum a little further back, and by doing so, I do find it a little bit harder to reach and shift in that position. And I think between the Royal Enfield Bullet Classic and the Meteor, Royal Enfield is one of the few that has that stadium-style bench seat, so you can slide up on the front or move back a little bit. So I do find myself, being a little finicky with the shifter, depending on the boots I wear specifically. Now, just for example, if I were to use my larger boot, the toe box here you can see is quite big. It is a little bit trickier to get into with this particular boot. So I don't favor this boot currently. It's not quite set up for this boot, but with this boot, I do find myself very easy. It's very easy to slide front and back and then have my setting there. Now, like I said, this is fairly flat. It's quite even, and this is the way I generally have it. But if you want to make adjustments to that shift point, there are two things that you need to do here. And this is the bolt that needs to be removed. And then you'll see a secondary bolt here. And this is the bolt right on the crank, on the shaft of the shifter here. And it's this guy right here. So, for this guy, it is, I believe, a 10mm hex bolt. This is a 10 mil. You need to release that. And then for this guy, it is a 12mm. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how that is shifted. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this bolt first, the rear bolt. And you do that by getting in here. Pop that open. I do this quite often, depending on the boot I wear, and I haven't found the kind of sweet spot for the bigger boots yet. I find the bigger boots a little clunky, and I kind of don't wear my bigger boots for that reason. So this is the bolt that came out. This is the 12 mil, and then I'm going to go ahead and release this bolt here, and this kind of locks in the splines on the shifter and allows you to pull this whole piece out. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Comes out fairly easily once it's loosened. And this comes right out. So at this point, I've looked at a number of videos where they show that in order to do so on maybe even a classic, they go ahead and loosen the frame a little bit out here. And I don't know if this is my bike or just the bullet specifically, but I find myself releasing these two bolts and I'm able to get this piece out. So I'll just show you guys. Once you kind of have to press this down a little bit, and that comes right off, right? And then what you want to do, if you want your shifter to be placed a little higher, just bring that in, and now it's sort of a smidge higher. So that gives me a little bit more space and comfort when I want to wear something a little bit bigger. The drawbacks are, and this is kind of my personal conclusion as far as the ideal positioning where you might want to have a shifter. And this is the Royal Bullet has a mid, I believe it's a mid style kind of control. I prefer to have it relatively flat and even, and I kind of do recommend you go with it, set a quite even, go quite even with this shifter location if you can. And the reason I find is that I don't necessarily want to, let me get a better focus here. I don't necessarily want to have to lift my foot up every time I want to downshift. I don't know if that makes sense, but now that it's fairly even, I find it's generally easier to kind of slide your feet up, and that way you're ready to shift. Having this peg higher means that you have to raise your foot and put that down. That just reduces the time required to downshift. So I do think bringing these pegs up to accommodate bigger shoes is helpful, but you do want to make sure that you're able to, it's not excessive. It's not so much so that you have to ride like this to shift down. It's not comfortable. So that's essentially how you adjust the shifters on the Royal Enfield Bullet 350. I think it's a little bit more specific to a motorcycle, but I just want to put this out there. And to replace everything, you just kind of bring this back in and tighten that up. I just go a little bit tighter than snug. And that's really just by feel. But you just want to make sure you check up on these from time to time too, to make sure it's not it doesn't loosen up over time. So that's on, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this piece back in. Get it centered down on that. Yeah, so I've seen other videos when I tried to make the adjustments for this, and the classics seem to be a little bit more finicky from what I'm seeing, whereas the Bullet, these are only two bolts that you have to remove, and this bolt I'm tightening here seemingly is just there. It just removes a little bit of tension from the frame, or kind of allows it a little give so that you can push down the peg to allow this to slide out. And that's it. So this is just, I'm just tightening this back up. But the shifter location is going to vary depending on, what's comfortable for you. But my general suggestion is that, depends on the shoe that you're wearing. But you want to make sure that you don't have to lift. My worry is that you want to be able to comfortably upshift, but also when you downshift, you want to be able to not have to lift your feet every time you shift down. So that's just a little quick clip I want to do. I want to do a little bit of a walk around on the motorcycle on the Bullet 350 when I get a chance, but it's winter and I'm just trying to put up some content. So yeah, hope that helps, and hope for anyone who's looking at adjusting your foot pegs or your shifter pegs on a Bullet 350, that's how I do it. And if you have any recommendations or suggestions on what I'm doing that's not correct, please do let me know. All right, thanks a lot.